Hi everyone, Stepan here. Yesterday I showed you a game that I played against Anton Deris last season in the league because I only got the PGN from his teammates during this match. So we're playing again and I have the white pieces again. I'm not feeling my best because of some stuff that's been going on with my family at the time. So I'm just, I'm trying to focus on the game as much as I can, and I want to play well. I also want to get revenge because of what happened last time. So again, I went d4. Last time he played the Grunfeld. This time he did not. He played e6, and we went into an Nimzo. Bishop b4, queen c2, castles, and a3. And there are hundreds of thousands of games with bishop takes c3 here. My opponent played a move I simply don't know. Bishop e7. This move cannot be good. It's just a clear waste of tempo compared to the main lines. And here I have, I didn't know whether to go e4 or bishop f4. I like the weakness on c7, and I wanted to play it safe with my pawn on e3 and my bishop on d3. So I played bishop f4. I have engine checked the game, and bishop f4 is fine. It's only slightly worse than e4. And a6 preventing knight b5. Perhaps this wasn't necessary. And again, I could have played e4. But I played e3, which is slightly suboptimal. d6, bishop d3. And now you already have to be slightly concerned about h7 if you're black, so knight bd7, knight f3. All of my moves are very, very natural, and my development is easy. h6, I don't know what that does. Of course, h7 sort of needs defending, but h6 creates a hook. So now I played h3, and I played it for two reasons. Firstly, I want to go bishop h2 if my opponent plays knight h5 ever. Secondly, what if I go g4, g5? And this idea became so tempting that that's the only thing I was focused on at this point. My opponent played rook e8, and if you've seen yesterday's video, and if you haven't, please watch it, I blundered the game away where I had a massive advantage, more than here. In the position where I blundered and went on to win the exchange, I was +2, and with normal moves, I would have just, maybe I wouldn't have won, but I would have kept the advantage. So here, g4 seems like a very risky decision. It's not easy to defend against, but I don't have to play g4. So for example, if I go g4, I don't know what black should play. The engine gives e5, which makes no sense to me, just, giving up a pawn. Other than that, I don't know. Let's say b5. b5 seems reasonable. I go g5, my opponent exchanges, and now look at this. h7 is weak, f7 is weak, the g file is open, my opponent's attack hasn't really happened yet. This is how far I got. I didn't consider b5 really. In my mind it went g4 random move, g5. I didn't know what black should do. There is simply no way to prevent g5. Whatever you do, you're not preventing g5. If you go knight h7, I just win the knight. So, and I wasn't brave enough to play it, or to put it this way, I didn't want to risk my position again. I knew I had a big advantage. According to the engine, this is plus 1.5. So my position is very comfortable. My opponent cannot move any of his pieces, so why risk it? So I castled. Fine. Knight h5, second reason why I played h3, so I can tuck my bishop away, and bishop f8. I went rook ad1, normal, g6, and here, I must have spent at least 20 minutes trying to make bishop g6 work. It does not work. If you play bishop takes g6, white is still significantly better. However, after knight g7 and knight e4, which I was going to play, I can also take on h6, but then queen f6, and it should be equal. After knight e4, black has rook e7. And I got as far as rook e7, and I just couldn't see a way forward. I should say that if black makes a random move, then any knight to g5 is game over. And black really must lose the queen, or I don't know, resign. So I got this far, but after, after rook e7, if I go knight g5 now, then my opponent just takes and then plays knight f6. And that's pretty much it. So, but on b6, if we do the same thing and takes, knight takes, if knight f6 now, well, what's the difference? I have bishop e5, and that's a completely crushing move. So this is, you know, I'm not gonna see that during the game. Bishop e5 is just winning. After bishop e7, I have f4, and the pawns just keep marching forward. So I didn't want to do that, and probably after knight e4, my opponent somehow defends, or I would have taken on h6. But once again, I didn't want to risk it. The engine says the position, the advantage goes from +2 to 0.7, so it's good that I didn't play it. I played b4. And b4 plays against e5 because there's no knight c5 in any variations. Also, I may want to play c5 at some point, and it's reinforced. My opponent went b6. Here I think I played the best move, bishop e4, although I played it for the wrong reasons. The engine says it's the best move, but after rook b8, the engine plays bishop c6, allows a trade, and then goes c5. So bishop c6, bishop b7, takes, takes, and c5. That's the engine line. I didn't play bishop e4 because of that. I played it so that I could go queen a4 after rook b8, because now bishop b7 has been prevented. This is suboptimal compared to bishop c6, but you're not playing bishop b7, so at least I'm still keeping the bishop on c8. Of course, if bishop b7, I can take and take on a4. My opponent went knight df6. I went bishop b1, and I think this is a good move. It prepares e4, and it gives me the option to go queen c2. I do allow bishop b7, but I didn't care because e4. Okay, queen e7, rook fe1. I could have gone e5 straight away, but I went rook fe1, knight d7, and queen b3. And I was really trying to create some tactical tricks with bishop g6 in some positions with c5. For example, e5, or let's say, okay, d5 isn't going to be played. Bishop g6 is never happening. That was a far-fetched idea because, of course, now I have a pin on f7, but my opponent would have to play d5, which is never happening. But my queen can easily transfer to the king side now. Also, my knight is defended, and if I go c5, the queen is wide open towards f7. My opponent went e5. Okay, I could have gone knight d5 straight away, but I took first. So d5, d5, and now knight d5. And you have to take this. I don't really think white can leave this knight on the board, because the only sensible square for the queen is d8, and then you're pinned, and then you lose the e5 pawn. So basically bishop d5 is forced. And of course e d5. And now you're in trouble. You have to defend the e5 pawn, but it's not easy to defend it. My opponent played queen f6, and I missed a very easy win here. I could have gone queen a4 now, and I don't know. You're not defending a6 and d7 and e5. So on queen a4, probably the best move is queen d8, defending the knight, and then I just take the pawn on e5. But I have decided to increase the pressure with rook e4, which is also fine. Okay, bishop d6 defends, rook d1, queen g7, and here I kind of played it. I didn't play it safe anymore. I figured, okay, if I'm gonna win, I have to win now. I should have enough to convert this, so I played g4. This gives away a portion of my advantage, but it's an okay move. Of course, knight e4 isn't playable. Knight f4 isn't playable because the rook on e8 is hanging. So on knight f4, I would just take it with the bishop. So knight f6 and rook e2. And of course, e4 has been prevented because it's hanging. I have a bishop on b1. And my opponent played rook e7. I think this is the losing move, because now I have a wonderful tactic that's... It doesn't win material, really, but it rids black of the d6 bishop, which is the only piece holding black's position together, and I infiltrate. So I went knight d4. And of course it works because there's a pin along the e file, and if I play knight c6, then firstly I win an exchange if my opponent's rooks don't move, but also I can continue with f4 and just win a pawn. So my opponent has to take. I trade, and here he played rook e8. I was really happy to trade, and I went queen a4. Now, this is almost +3 according to the engine, and I'm going to be honest and say that it felt like I was winning, but at this point I had less than 10 minutes on the clock, and I wasn't at all sure that I was going to win. The reason I played queen a4 was to play queen c6, or not to take the pawn on a6, which I did end up doing, to play queen c6. And the reason I wanted to play queen c6 is because I wanted to play queen e6 check if my opponent starts undermining my pawns. That did end up happening later on in the game. My opponent played f5, and I should have gone queen c6 straight away. And if they take on g4 now, I play queen e6. Queen f7 is, of course, a losing endgame because my bishops are extremely dominant. So let's say king f8. Now I just take on g4, and I don't know which knight to f6, but I can go bishop f4, and this pawn has been completely stopped. And of course, the knights are very, very poor. Instead of that, I went queen a6, and the reason I went queen a6 is because I saw c5 as a way to disrupt my opponent's attack if he tries to infiltrate on e1 with queen e7, which he did end up playing. And it also pins the b pawn because g6 is hanging with check. So my opponent played queen e7, and here I should have gone c5 straight away. The pawn is immune, and queen e1 just queen f1 covering the check, and with a much better position. But instead I decided to delay c5 for a while, and I didn't see what my opponent was going to do, and it felt like the game was slipping away. None of that is true. The engine says my move is perfectly fine. c5 is +3. I played bishop d3, which is +2, so it's still winning. But I had completely missed my opponent's move down the line, which is queen g5. So he trades, goes queen g7, king g7, and here I went c5, thinking, okay, this is amazing. I'm just gonna go queen c4, and take the pawn on d4. But then he played queen g5, and with a few minutes on the clock, this isn't an easy position to play. Of course, now, okay, turn on the engine, it says +4, but I had no idea it was +4. My g4 pawn is hanging with check. Now, I can always cover with bishop g3, but should I be worried? So the engine cold-bloodedly plays d6, and, it's over. Queen g4 check, bishop g3. What do you do? I don't know. I don't know what to suggest. The engine says cd6. I don't know. Let's say you take here. Now I can just go dc7, and after knight c7 I go queen d6, and it should be over. h5, queen c7, h4, bishop b5, and I'm mating black. So the engine plays that. I didn't even consider it. d6 seems way too slow, or at least it did during the game. Instead I played bishop e2, which is still fine, +2. However, I could have won straight away. And in this position, my opponent helped me. I thought this was a dreadful blunder. It turns out it's the best move. Turns out it's one of the only moves. I was expecting queen takes d5. And of course, the idea behind queen g5 is a double attack on g4 and d5. But after queen d5, I do go cb6, and I think this is over. After cb6, I have queen b5, and this is basically a triple attack. Again, if we trade queens, I should be winning. If, let's say, queen e6, trying to avoid that, then I just go a4 and start queening my pawns. There's nothing there for for black. So this is what I had been expecting. But my opponent played a move that the engine approves of, which I thought was just suicidal. He took on c5. And now I immediately played queen e6. Of course, it's still +3, but it's the best move. And now finding a move for black is tough. I don't know what to suggest. Again, my opponent played the best move, but it's just losing. I played bishop e5. And now you have to move your king, because I'm threatening queen e8. I don't know. Let's say king f8, I just take on c5 and queen my d-pawn. What else? I mean, king f8 or maybe knight d6. You have to save the knight, but if knight d6, still bc5. So let's say king f8, bc5. I don't know, d3, I can just take it. It doesn't even matter. But after bc5, queen e6, knight df6, bishop e5, my opponent played c4 and lost the knight on e8. And the game I took, and my opponent took on e5. He was also in time trouble. I don't know what this is about, but he took on e5, and I just took the queen back, and the game was over. Yeah, it wasn't a clean game, and in the end, it didn't feel like I was easily winning. If you look at the engine evaluations of, +2, +3, +4, I can tell you, when my opponent played queen g5, I had no idea whether I was better at all. Okay, I had a few minutes on the clock. I couldn't think straight because I was in time trouble. But still, playing d6, that's beyond me. But yeah, it turns out it was a good game compared to the previous one. So I won, and my team won the match, which is great. Okay, so we are going to continue covering the games I'd played since then. I played, well, a few more games, and I played an entire tournament in Versailles, so I'm going to show you all 9 games from there. And I also have a tournament starting in a couple of days. So there will be more. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more chess. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.